took 3 people to get all these cartridges balanced on the table. This video it's about a rifle, the A-bolt, but it's mostly about cartridges, but I think you'll find it quite interesting. And as we get into it, you'll see that there's a lot to know. I hope I don't lose you along the way. And I'll share with you my favorite 6.5 caliber cartridge, which is a popular caliber these days. But I'll begin by drawing your attention to these 2 cartridges here on this side of the table. You see how long they are? These are old style cartridges. I could have put out some old coal burners, but I was in the ammunition vault and I had so many cartridges. My producer said, this is impossible, we have way too many as it is. Anyway, this is a 9.3 by 72R, 9.3 by 74R. Some of you would be familiar with these. This 74R is pretty common. 72R used to be very common, and it's available in drillings. And just as a footnote, when I first encountered the 72R, I must have been in my 20s, and I thought it was a fascinating cartridge. 9.3 is a great caliber. Sectional density is interesting, and as you know, I like the bigger bullets. Anyway, the years passed and I ran into a German friend who said the 9.3 by 72R was useful in the past, but it's totally inadequate and in many countries illegal for deer. But I had 2 9.3 by 72Rs, so I thought, well, maybe they're illegal and maybe they're inadequate, but maybe they forgot to tell the deer. So I took my 9.3 by 72R drilling, just a beautiful drilling, which I still have. And I'm never hunting at long range, and I was correct that time. And somebody did forget to tell the deer, so it worked out great. Anyway, this is all leading up to these 2 cartridges. So these are older cartridges based on the theory that a cartridge needed to be longer and hold a lot of powder. And these 2 cartridges are the ones that several people asked me to talk about. This is the 25 WSSM, and this is the 223, and there's one missing in the middle, which I have but I couldn't find. It's the 243 WSSM. So this short cartridge is the equivalent of the 25-06, which is here, which is one of my favorite cartridges, and the 223 is the equivalent of the 22-250. Now, all of you ballistics experts out there probably know better, and I'm sure you do. I think the 25 might be slightly superior to the 25-06 or slightly less, I forget. The 243 WSSM may be about the same as the 6mm Remington. I'm not sure how it compares with the 243 Winchester. Probably they're almost about the same. The idea was to put the powder charge into a very compact shape. There's a theory in accuracy that if the powder column is closer to the primer, ignition is more consistent, and the increase in pressure in the brass case is also more consistent. And I'm simplifying things probably dramatically. And this wasn't the first application of this concept, but it's probably the most dramatic. And if we can shift the camera over here, this is the 300 Winchester Short Magnum. I'm missing the 270 Winchester Short Magnum and a 325 and maybe others. This cartridge is actually more powerful than this cartridge, which is the 300 Holland & Holland. And I probably should have put a 300 Winchester Magnum on the table, because the 300 WSM, this fairly small cartridge, but it's got a big body, is the equivalent of a 300 Winchester Magnum, which is pretty amazing. So the concepts are sound, and these came out first, the 300, the 270, and the 325. And then later on, they came out to shift over here. They came out with the 25, the 223, and the 243. And I tried to put out corresponding boxes of ammunition, which you can probably sort out. Now I may bump the table and some of these could fall, but sorry about that. Oh, also all your letters about my shirts, and the delightful viewers in the United Kingdom that tell me to wear lighter colored jumpers. I try hard so that I don't block out the view of what I have on the table, but I ran out of funny colored shirts and jumpers, so we're doing our best to have everything visible against the table covering. Anyway, here's the rifle, which I'll pick up carefully, and we all know how great the A-bolt is. This is the 223 WSSM A-bolt, and you'll notice, of course, that the bolt is stainless steel, and that's another footnote from my collecting career. So a fellow contacted me and said he has the bolt, the barrel, the stock, and all other parts of a 243 WSSM. And this rifle with the walnut stock and the blued barrel is 223. This was my purchase originally. So I bought all those parts from him, and for filming, I put the 243 barrel in. Naturally, I've checked headspace, and here's the barrel from that 243 WSSM. I have to be careful. And yeah, this I haven't fired it, but I have no doubt that it will work fine. And I'm probably going to get someone who can relieve the threading. You can see the great recoil lug. We're always talking about that. And so why would someone get rid of the action and not all the rest of the components? And the fellow told me he blew the action up, but sometime later I saw it on his workbench, but of course one doesn't say anything because the guy's kind of an inventor, so who knows what actually happened. But these components are fine. But this is the rifle that handles the 223 and the 243, which isn't on the table. It's very hard to tell those rounds apart unless you look at them closely. Although these two you can differentiate. But yeah, so as far as accuracy and function, I mean, it's a typical A-bolt. And what's my opinion of these cartridges? I think they gave up on them too soon. And I'm not even sure they have given up on them. I've heard rumors that they may bring out some more, or a special edition or new rifles. The Browning A-bolt was available in those ultra short Magnum cartridges, or whatever name you'd like to use. And Winchester also had some rifles in those short calibers. The action had to be somewhat special because the feeding is a little tricky. And getting back to that first sequence we shot with the 9.3 by 72 and 9.3 by 74, those long cartridges may not be ballistically as efficient, but they sure feed smoothly. And the 25-06 that I just mentioned casually is actually one of my favorite cartridges of all. And because I was in the vault, like I was telling you, I find all these cartridges. And oh, somebody was asking me what cartridge I used to hold the guns up. That's a 458 lot. That's just one of my African cartridges. 6.5 by 54. 6.5 Japanese from the Arasaka. 6.5 Creedmoor. And you can see that the Creedmoor is not declared an ultra short cartridge, but you know, this is that same concept, except that the cartridge case itself is not that much bigger. The diameter, it's not really a super short Magnum cartridge. I think that the WSSM is available. I think there are wildcatters who have made 6.5s and probably everything else on this very strong, by the way, brass case. It's fantastic. Have I had problems feeding? None. I must have the best luck with guns. I get lots of letters and terrible things people describe, and I'm sorry about all that. I've had nothing but good success with, or excellent success with these. And I'll make another side story. I was up in the mountains with my shooting companions, Michael and Paul, and we were shooting empty little propane cylinders with this very rifle, and it was very humid. It was one of those cold mountain days, and I'm not sure exactly what was going on in the atmosphere, but we were shooting the 223 rounds, and I fired, and you could see a vapor trail. In the meantime, some of you have written back to me in that side correspondence that you've seen that as well. Now that probably would have happened maybe with any cartridge, I don't know. But that day it was as if I was using tracers. And of course the trajectory of the 223 is just laser flat. I don't know what it's going. Some of you wrote me that you get over 4,100 feet per second with certain bullets. And at least one of you wrote me that you use a special kind of bullet, I just can't remember the bullet, and get way up there in velocity. Now I don't know the pressures that are involved, and I'm, as I said, painting with a broad brush here. There are all kinds of pressure factors that determine ballistic performance, but I think I've been fair to all the cartridges. And then ultimately you usually ask me for whether this is a rifle worth buying, and of course I have to say, I mean, any A-bolt is a great rifle, but there's just something so cool about the WSSM. I think part of the appeal of collecting and shooting is having something unique, and this achieves that in spades. It seems short, but I don't think it's cut down. Anyway, it's a great cartridge, and actually in 25 I have this rifle in the polymer stock, a kind of a dark green or a brown, in the A-bolt as well, and it's a snappy cartridge. There's recoil, which usually means to me that it's a saucy round, and it is. Excellent, fascinating, and not to be overlooked. If you come across them, they don't seem to go down in value like everything else these days. Anyway, I said I would tell you my favorite 6.5 because many people have asked me. And yes, I like the 6.5 Swedish, and the 6.5 by 54, the 6.5 by 57, the 6.5 by 68. But it's this cartridge right here, this 6.5 Japanese, which I have in a single shot. This is a mild, excellent cartridge. It's something in the order of the Carcano, and it's got a rim or a semi-rim, and I get the same kind of accuracy out of that old Japanese round as I do out of the Creedmoor, which is rightly very popular. And for the many people who comment on the redundancy of a lot of so-called new cartridges, that this is very true. Most of the secrets in firearms were figured out around 1900, but arms manufacturers have a tricky job. They have to sell rifles. So when somebody comes out with a new cartridge, I look at it, and yes, it may duplicate or maybe be slightly weaker or stronger or whatever than some other cartridge, but I think that's not really the point. It's fun, I think, for us hunters and shooters and collectors and target shooters to have new things to tinker with and talk about. So when the Creedmoor, yeah, things are falling here. Anyway, as the Creedmoor came out, I thought, well, that's great. Is it better than a 6.5 Swedish? I don't know. But it's very popular, very accurate, and gets a lot of attention. Anyway, I hope I didn't run on. Always have more to tell you, more to say. But for those of you that like those WSSMs, that is a good cartridge to like. And I wish I could find more of these A-bolts. Maybe they didn't sell enough of them, but try to find one. It's just about impossible. It's a very cute, like, compact rifle in the first place, and that's why one of the reasons why, other than accuracy and the newness of the concept of the WSSM, you can have a 25-06 in an action scarcely longer than, well, not a 22 Hornet, but you get my point. Anyhow, that's it for now. We have probably a half dozen more videos to shoot. I hope you're all happy and healthy and well, and soon things will get better, as I always say. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and I forget, push the bell or whatever it is that you need to push so that you get alerted when I release a new video. And we're having some fun on Instagram, and thank you for helping me on Patreon. That's great. We'll see you all next time. Take care.